The night air feels too still, as though the world itself is holding its breath. The Holloway residence stands in perfect order. Lights off, doors locked, breakfast dishes still drying in the rack. The silence is suffocating. Detective Rachel Dyer steps across the threshold, her boots echoing against the hardwood floor. The family's possessions remain untouched. A child's backpack by the stairs, a mug half full on the table, and the faint scent of lavender and static. Every trace of life remains, except the people who lived it. In the reflection of the window, her face flickers under the cold beam of her flashlight, and for a fleeting second, she thinks she sees someone standing behind her. But when she turns, nothing. Only the sound of the wind pressing against the glass, like a whisper that refuses to fade. By dawn, the Holloway house becomes a magnet for curiosity. Neighbors gather behind yellow tape, speaking in murmurs and fractured memories. Mrs. Schwar. Lillian Crane swears she saw the family's car leave after midnight, but others insist it never moved. The air is heavy with contradiction. Detective Dyer listens in silence, notebook in hand as the morning light washes the street in dull gold. It feels less like a disappearance and more like erasure, as though something has rewritten the space where the Holloways once stood. Behind her, Officer Myers speaks with patrolmen, his tone mechanical, but his eyes uncertain. Every word echoes like an accusation. Maybe they never left at all. The recording begins with static, soft and irregular, like breathing beneath the noise. A timestamp marks it 1 hour after the family vanished. Detective Dyer listens through the earpiece as Officer Myers stands beside her, arms crossed. The voice is faint. Clara Holloway whispering a single word. Wait, then silence. A sharp burst of interference follows, and something else stirs within the sound. A low mechanical pulse that seems to echo from nowhere. Dyer replays the file, leaning closer each time, convinced she hears more than human speech hiding beneath the distortion. Forensics will later confirm the voice was recorded from inside the house. But no device was found there. Mrs. Crane insists she saw the Holloways that night, but every retelling changes. Sometimes she says it was raining. Other times, moonlight. Sometimes David was driving. Other times, Clara. Her words blur, like a dream retold too often. Dyer's patience holds, though her pen barely moves now. What unsettles her isn't what Mrs. Crane says. It's how she keeps glancing at the Holloway house as if expecting it to answer her. Behind the old woman's eyes flickers something close to fear. They didn't vanish, she whispers finally. They were called. No one speaks after that. Michael Reeves reads the preliminary police report beneath the weak light of his office lamp. The story feels hauntingly familiar. A family gone, a neighborhood frozen, a single inexplicable clue. His computer hums quietly, the cursor blinking over a blank document titled The Holloway Disappearance. As he scrolls, a strange realization creeps over him. A decade earlier, he wrote about another family who vanished in the same way. The same structure, the same absence. He leans back. The screen's glow reflecting in his eyes, and for the first time in years, he feels the old pulse of fear beneath curiosity. The sense that his words might already be part of the story. Detective Dyer doesn't trust journalists, especially ones who claim to see patterns. Yet when Michael Reeves walks into the precinct unannounced, holding a folder thick with reports of similar vanishings, she feels the sharp tug of inevitability. His calm confidence unsettles her. His words sound rehearsed, as though he's been waiting years to deliver them. This isn't the first time, he says quiet. Their conversation unfolds like a chess match. His curiosity against her restraint, his theories against her facts. But beneath it all runs something else. Recognition. They both know the other won't walk away. The moment Reeves mentions the Institute's name, the air in the room changes, and Dyer realizes she's already too deep to turn back. The surveillance footage should have offered clarity. Instead, it fractures it. The Holloway driveway appears empty until precisely 11:42 p.m. Then a frame skip. When the video resumes, the front door stands open and the lights inside flicker once before going black. Dyer slows the playback, frame by frame, jaw tightening. The timestamp never changes. Reeves leans closer to the monitor, his breath fogging the screen. There's no car, no movement, just static swallowing the image for exactly 12 seconds. Gaps in time, he mutters, his voice shaking. Dyer glances at him not with disbelief, but recognition. She's seen something like this before. Interviews begin to fracture the illusion of normalcy. The Holloway's co-workers remember cheerful goodbyes. Their children's teacher recalls an absence that never made sense. Neighbors disagree about everything. The time they last saw the car, the color of the porch light, even the music playing that night. The story folds in on itself. Dyer sketches timelines that never align, while Reeves compiles notes filled with question marks and circles. They're chasing ghosts of memory. As the sun sets beyond the precinct windows, both realize the same truth. The Holloways weren't just erased. They were rewritten. The voicemail returns to haunt them. An audio technician isolates the background noise. Beneath Clara Holloway's whisper lies a pulse-like resonance, too rhythmic to be random. Reeves closes his eyes as it plays, describing it as something like breathing and machinery intertwined. Dyer stands rigid, her fingers tightening on the table edge. The technician explains it's not feedback. It's an embedded pattern, a coded frequency impossible for a household recorder to produce. When the sound ends, the silence feels colder than before. Reeves exhales and whispers, "It's not a message, it's an echo." The Holloway home feels different when Dyer returns. Colder, emptier, yet charged with a strange current. Her flashlight passes over the kitchen floor, catching a faint seam in the tiles she hadn't noticed before. On instinct, she kneels, scraping gently at the edge. The tile lifts with a dry snap, revealing a metal hatch flush with concrete. Dust scatters into the air as Reeves watches, the beam trembling slightly in his hand. Together they force it open. A rush of air escapes, stale, electric, almost alive. The stairs beneath descend into darkness that swallows the light entirely. For a moment, neither speaks. Then Dyer whispers, "They built this themselves." The air below the Holloway house is thick, stale, and wrong. Each step down the narrow staircase creaks under Dyer's weight as the flashlight trembles across the walls. Dust and decay hang in the air, but beneath it, something else. A faint metallic scent, almost electrical. Reeves follows closely, his camera flickering as the battery drains unnaturally fast. They reach a small concrete chamber lined with photos, dozens, maybe hundreds, pinned in meticulous order. Families, children, all missing. Dyer moves closer, breath hitching when she sees the same family repeated across different years, different names, different homes. Reeves whispers, "It's not just them, it's all of them." And for the first time, Dyer feels the cold certainty that the Holloways were part of something designed and that it isn't finished. Reeves can't shake the feeling he'd been here before. Not this room, but this moment. He finds a folder buried beneath the photographs, stamped with the insignia of the Caldera Research Institute. Inside are reports, volunteer consent forms, project summaries, energy data. The Holloway's signatures appear at the bottom. His heart sinks. He remembers interviewing a whistleblower from the same institute years ago. A man who warned that their experiments were about breaking continuity. Dyer reads the forms, her voice low. "They didn't vanish," she says. "They crossed." Reeves looks at her, confusion mixing with fear. Crossed where? The question lingers unanswered, echoing softly against the concrete. Back at the precinct, Digital forensics struggle to access the files from David Holloway's recovered computer. Layers of encryption resist even the most advanced software, and every attempt triggers a cascade of corrupted data. Dyer leans over the technician's shoulder as Reeves paces behind them, agitation building. Finally, one image decrypts, a blueprint of a machine labeled Mirror Field Prototype. Reeves stares at the design, tracing the circular pattern that matches the chalk marks from the basement. "It's not a weapon," he murmurs. "It's a door." Dyer exhales slowly, realization dawning like a chill. Then someone opened it. Records from the local power grid reveal something impossible. A surge of energy exactly at 11:42 p.m. The moment the Holloways disappeared. Dyer and Reeves visit the control substation on the outskirts of town, its walls trembling with the low thrum of transformers. The engineer explains that the spike wasn't external. It originated from within a residential node. The Holloway's address. Reeves runs his hand over the cold metal surface of a circuit panel, feeling faint static under his skin. "It's still humming," he whispers. Dyer stares at the data logs glowing on screen, the numbers pulsing rhythmically like a heartbeat. The room feels suddenly smaller, the air thicker, as if the power itself is aware of being watched. Mrs. Lillian Crane calls Dyer late that night, her voice trembling. "I remembered something," she says. "They weren't taken. They left." When Dyer and Reeves arrive, the house is filled with the smell of candle wax and something faintly metallic. Mrs. Crane sits motionless in her chair, eyes wide, lips pale. On her table lies a sheet of paper covered in frantic handwriting, repeating the same phrase. They call to themselves. Her hand jerks as she tries to speak, but no sound escapes. A sudden seizure overtakes her. The candles flicker violently as Reeves rushes forward. Every bulb in the room bursts simultaneously, showering sparks. When light returns, Mrs. Crane is still. Her eyes remain open, reflecting the Holloway house visible through the window. The recovered hard drives from the Caldera Institute arrive sealed in evidence crates. When the files finally load, they reveal what no one expected. Grainy footage of human trials, subjects standing in concentric rings of light, their bodies flickering between frames like disrupted transmission. Dyer and Reeves watch in silence, transfixed and horrified. A figure in a lab coat explains that the mirror field uses magnetic resonance to shift atomic alignment, a temporary displacement of matter across spatial boundaries. The screen glitches. One subject screams, the light folds inward, and his body implodes into a flash of white. Reeves whispers, "They did it. They broke the world on purpose." Dyer's face hardens. Then they succeeded. When Dyer presents her findings to the division chief, the response is swift and cold. Her superiors refuse to log the footage, insisting it be sealed under classified jurisdiction. "You're not authorized to investigate beyond the Holloways," the chief says. Dyer's voice trembles, anger barely restrained. "You mean we're supposed to ignore the fact that people are experimenting with disappearance?" The chief's gaze sharpens. "You have no idea how deep this goes." Silence swells. The sound of a closing file cabinet echoes like a door slamming shut. Dyer leaves the office knowing what it means. I've been warned off. Not because the truth is unimportant, but because it's already known. Reeves meets a contact from his past, a man once employed at Caldera, now living under a false name. They meet in a shadowed parking garage, voices echoing softly between concrete pillars. The man's hands shake as he lights a cigarette, explaining that the project was never meant to vanish people. It was meant to duplicate them. The Holloways weren't victims, he says. They volunteered to be the control group. Reeves listens, sickened, as the man describes experiments to separate consciousness from physical form, to project identity across a mirrored dimension. When Reeves asks where the others are now, the man hesitates, eyes darting nervously. "They came back," he whispers. but not the same. Dyer and Reeves uncover the final consent forms, signatures from each member of the Holloway family. Volunteer Phase the Third, stability testing. The reality shatters between them. The Holloways weren't taken. They chose this. Dyer's breath catches as she reads the line beneath Clara's name. Duration: indefinite. Reeves sits wordless, staring at the signatures, the ink blurred by fingerprints. They knew! He says, finally. They wanted to cross. Dyer shakes her head slowly, disbelief tightening her jaw. No one volunteers to disappear, she murmurs. Not unless they already know what's waiting on the other side. They track down Dr. Helen Rourke, the last surviving Caldera researcher. When she agrees to meet, it feels almost too easy. Reeves sets up his camera in a roadside diner as Dyer orders coffee, the rain hammering the window. Rourke arrives late, wearing the same white coat seen in the footage, eyes vacant and unfocused. Her voice shakes as she explains that the mirror field was meant to realign observation, that what's seen defines what exists. The more you look, she whispers, the less real it becomes. Before Reeves can press further, the lights flicker, and in the next moment she's gone. The coffee cup still spins on the table. Outside, the storm stops abruptly. Dyer and Reeves stare at the empty seat, unable to speak. Detective Dyer stares at the surveillance footage again, unable to breathe. In the latest frame, the timestamp blinks 3:11:24, and there she is, walking through the Holloway hallway. Same clothes, same flashlight, same movement. But Dyer is at her desk, watching herself in real time. Her reflection turns toward the camera and smiles, something she never did. Reeves freezes the playback, his voice unsteady. That's not you, he whispers. Dyer's face drains of color. The figure in the footage lifts her flashlight, pointing it directly at the lens, flooding the screen with blinding white light. The feed cuts out. Silence. When it returns, the frame is empty, but Dyer's reflection lingers faintly in the glass of the monitor, moving after she's stopped. Reeves wakes to the soft ping of an incoming email. The subject line reads, "Return. Attached is a video file. No sender, no origin." He hesitates, but curiosity wins. The screen fills with static, then resolves into footage of the Holloway basement. Now empty, except for the glowing circular machine. The camera pans shakily toward the hatch, then tilts down. A man's shadow stretches across the floor, his own. Reeves jerks back from the monitor, breath caught in his throat. The video ends abruptly with the sound of a door slamming. His phone rings. The caller ID reads, Michael Reeves, and when he answers, he hears only his own breathing. By morning, every physical trace of the case is gone. Files, photographs, hard drives, all vanished from the precinct storage. Even digital records have been scrubbed clean. Dyer storms through the evidence room, disbelief giving way to fury. Someone's rewriting this, she mutters. Reeves, pale and silent, watches as technicians insist nothing was ever filed under the Holloway name. On the board where their investigation once hung, only faint outlines remain where photos used to be pinned. The truth has been deleted, but the memory of it still lingers, like static burned into their minds. They're not just removing the evidence, Reeves whispers. They're erasing the idea of it. Dyer's sleep collapses into waking nightmares. She sees her reflection blink before she does, smiles forming when she's afraid. She begins filming herself constantly, searching for proof that she still exists the way she remembers. Reeves visits, urging her to stop, but even he can feel it now. That subtle dissonance in reality, that hum beneath silence. In one recording, Dyer watches herself sitting motionless, eyes unblinking for nearly 2 minutes. I'm afraid of vanishing, she says softly, her voice trembling, not just from sight, from memory. Reeves, watching from across the room, whispers, you already have. Dyer plays the original voicemail again, desperate for something she missed. She slows it down, filters frequencies, listens through layers of distortion. Beneath Clara Holloway's whisper, another voice emerges. Distorted but unmistakable. Reeves. The realization strikes like an electric jolt. He backs away from the speaker, denial flooding his face. That's not possible, he stammers. But Dyer's gaze is fixed on him, cold and knowing. You were there, she says softly, before we ever arrived. The static grows louder, forming rhythm, pattern, a low pulse identical to the mirror field. Hum. Reeves presses his palms to his ears as the sound fills the room. Somewhere within the distortion, he hears himself whispering back. Wait. By midnight, the town is breaking down. Power outages roll across the streets in erratic waves, plunging neighborhoods into darkness before stuttering back to life. Radios hum with voices that no one broadcasts, whispering fragments of conversations from nowhere. Dyer drives through the empty streets, her headlights cutting through fog so dense it feels solid. Reeves sits beside her, pale and silent, the glow of his recorder trembling in his lap. It's spreading, he murmurs. The air hums with static. Streetlights flicker like heartbeats. From every darkened window, faint silhouettes stand watching. Not people, but their echoes. And somewhere deep beneath them all, the mirror field is still running. They return to the Holloway home for the last time. The hatch in the kitchen is open when they arrive, cold air rushing up as though the earth itself is exhaling. Dyer descends first, her flashlight trembling as she steps into the basement chamber. The air feels heavier, charged with energy. Reeves follows, his recorder flashing red as it detects interference. The hum has grown, low, rhythmic, alive. The circular platform in the center now glows faintly beneath layers of dust. Around its edge, words have been carved into the floor. Return is completion. Reeves kneels, running his fingers over the inscription. It's still active, he whispers. Dyer answers. Then so are they. They power it by accident. Reeves' camera light flickers, synchronizing with the machine's dormant pulse. The rings begin to turn, slowly at first, then faster, the air crackling with ionized electricity. A wind rises from nowhere, lifting dust into spirals. Dyer shouts over the growing roar, but her words are swallowed by the vibration. Reeves' reflection appears in the polished metal, but it isn't following his movements. It's looking directly at him, smiling faintly. The lights explode in blinding white. For a split second, he sees the Holloways standing in the circle, reaching out as if to welcome him home. Then the light folds inward, and reality bends like glass under pressure. The light collapses inward, then stabilizes, revealing the Holloway family standing within the field. They appear alive, unaged, but raw. Their eyes reflect no light. Their movements are a half-second delayed like memory, replayed through broken glass. Dyer takes a step forward, whispering their names. Clara turns her head first, smiling faintly. We came back, she says, though her lips barely move. David holds the children close, their faces serene. Reeves stares in disbelief. The air vibrates with soundless rhythm, matching the pulse of the machine. They're not returning, Dyer realizes. They're replacing. Then the Holloways look directly at Reeves, and all four smile in perfect unison. Reeves steps closer, drawn by something he can't resist. The same pull that claimed the Holloways. Dyer shouts for him to stop, but her voice distorts, breaking apart like radio static. The machine's hum deepens into a tone so low it vibrates the bones. Reeves reaches the edge of the field, his hand trembling inches from the light. For a moment, he sees another version of himself standing within it, calm and still, eyes dark and endless. It's me, he whispers. The reflection reaches out and clasps his hand. The chamber erupts in a flash of blinding light that swallows everything. When the brightness fades, only Dyer remains, standing before the silent, extinguished circle. Reeves is gone, but from somewhere behind her, his voice whispers softly, "Wait." The chamber convulses like a living organism struggling to breathe. Dyer staggers through the trembling darkness, dust and sparks falling like dying stars. The mirror field screams, a low metallic groan that feels more alive than mechanical. Reeves is gone, but his voice ripples faintly through the static, repeating a single word. Wait. The floor fractures beneath her feet. Reflections bleed across every surface. She sees multiple versions of herself in the broken mirrors, each one frozen at a different point in time. As the machine tears itself apart, she realizes what it's doing. It's not malfunctioning. It's closing the loop. With a final surge of blinding white, the chamber folds inward, swallowing the holloway basement and everything within it. Hours later, or perhaps minutes, time feels fractured. Dyer finds herself outside, standing in the ruins of the Holloway home. Rain falls softly, muting the distant sirens. She lifts a small voice recorder from her pocket, thumb trembling on the red button. Her voice is calm, detached, almost resigned. If anyone finds this, the Holloways didn't disappear. They were redefined. The experiment wasn't about transport. It was about replacement. Observation changes reality. And once you've seen the truth, her voice falters. She glances toward the empty lot where the house once stood. You can't look away without losing yourself. She ends the recording, her reflection faint in the recorder's wet plastic casing. But it doesn't blink when she does. Reeves' documentary footage is discovered weeks later, unedited, unfinished. The first half follows the investigation faithfully. The second is chaos, distorted video, mirrored images, flickers of light forming impossible angles. Near the end, the feed cuts to static, then briefly resumes, Reeves standing in the Holloway basement speaking directly into the camera. Truth is not what we find, he says softly. It's what replaces us. His voice warps mid-sentence, echoing backward. The image freezes on his face, eyes hollow, a faint shimmer of light flickering within his pupils. The broadcast ends there, but those who watch swear they can still hear breathing through the silence afterward. Weeks later, the Holloway home stands rebuilt. No scorch marks, no evidence of collapse. Pristine and inhabited once more. A moving truck idles in the driveway as a new family, unloads boxes, laughing in the afternoon sun. The neighbors smile, relieved to see life return. But the air around the house feels too still, the shadows too sharp. Across the street, Dyer watches from her car, the engine off. Through the window, she sees the family, 4 silhouettes, arranging furniture. For a moment, the smallest child turns and waves toward her. Dyer freezes. The child's face for just an instant is Jonah Holloway's. Then, the blinds close. The final image emerges in a dark room. A photo developing under red light. Fluid rippling gently in the tray. At first, is the Holloway family as they were. 4 smiling faces framed by sunlight. But as the image sharpens, another form appears between them, faint at first, then clear. A 5th figure, standing slightly behind, features obscured but unmistakable. Reeves. His eyes stare directly into the lens, expression serene. The photo keeps darkening, lines deepening, shadows merging until all 5 faces look perfectly at ease. Outside the frame, the red light flickers, and for the briefest moment, another hand, Dyer's, rests on the edge of the tray. Then the film burns white,